Welcome to the Guy Pie Podcast, featuring Anthony, Chris, John, Sean, and Mark. This is a weekly podcast where five guys come together to make the ultimate conversational pie about the games they are currently playing.
Welcome to the Guy Pie Podcast. I'm Chris. Joining me is Mark.
Howdy.
Making his long-awaited return, Anthony.
Hello, everybody.
And also making a return, Sean.
Just not long awaited. Did nobody wanted me to return, but I was like, I need this.
We tried to kick him out, but he just keeps finding his way back in. I don't know if he's like hacked the mainframe, but and then also joining us is John.
Hold on. Get that money.
Get that.
Okay, let's
All
start.
right.
All right, we're good. I'm good.
All right. So we'll start this week off with the Concord beta, because that's probably one of like the big topics going around right now. I ended up playing about 2 hours of this last night. So far, like from what I experienced of it, the gameplay is really smooth. I think this is the closest I've felt playing an FPS shooter where like it gave me like Destiny vibes in terms of how like the guns feel and like the movement. There are some really cool characters. Mark, there is a character who is just essentially throwing knives. She's got like a dodge. She's got like you can throw the multiple throwing knives. She's got like the wave of throwing knives. And then she has like a stabbing like motion. One of the characters I was enjoying playing as, he's got like an assault rifle, and two of his abilities are frag grenades and smoke grenades. So like basically what he can do is I can throw a smoke grenade in a room, and then when I look down the scope of my assault rifle, I can see through the smoke and like shoot the enemies like that. It's definitely not something that would be your thing, Anthony, but I think the character you would have the most fun with is the fire girl, because she has like the ability to kind of like float like warlocks. She has like an air dodge like Icarus dash. Her abilities include like this solar blinding grenade, and then like also like a firewall that you can do for quick damage. Her weapon is like a single shot fire crossbow that when you aim down the sight, you kind of like build a charge for it and do a more powerful one. But yeah, like all the characters, one of the things I did appreciate, I ended up playing, they had like all 16 in the beta. I ended up playing as probably half of them. They're all really unique, really different. I will say the one thing that kind of sucks is like some characters, I like their weapon, but I don't really like their abilities. The other characters, like I like their abilities, didn't really like the weapon. It's kind of the thing I tend to dislike in hero shooters like this, where like everyone has their own set in stone loadouts. Like there's no customization. But like I've got the pre-order for this. I'm definitely gonna sink some time into it when it fully releases. The game itself was very fun. I'm kind of interested to see how the live service thing develops, because like the big thing they're building up is when you load this up, you get like your first like cutscene, like story about all these characters. The big thing they're promoting is weekly there's going to be story updates of just like cinematics before you like load into like missions and stuff like that. So I'm kind of interested to see where they go with the story. I will say like the character designs are actually really well done. Like there's a lot of detail when you look at them. Sean, did you end up sinking some time into this?
Unfortunately, this weekend I didn't have time. I did end up watching a couple videos. Initially, I was kind of like, do we really need another shooter like in this kind of vein with Marvel Rivals coming out, and just like thoroughly enjoying that. And I still play a little bit of Overwatch 2. Although I will say like Overwatch 2 is a little bit stale in my opinion. But after watching the gameplay and like hearing you talk, it's definitely something I'm willing to try out, especially like if you're going to get into it. Like I'm down to play some rounds. It'll all depend if I can sink some time in this week. I should be able to, because I really don't have anything going on game wise. Like I don't have a game that I'm kind of sticking through. I've just been kind of playing different games here and there, trying to like clean up my backlog and stuff like that. So, is the beta like how long is the beta open till?
So it was today was supposed to be the final day. They ended up pushing the beta. They added an extra day, so like you should be able to play it tomorrow. And then there is another one this coming weekend, Friday to Sunday.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll definitely sink some time in it. I want to be the big robot, just because he's a big robot. You know?
I played as him. He is super chunky. He like in terms of health, like he is the definition of a tank. So like you can take a lot of hits, but like my god, walking as him is like walking as a snail. Like it is like
I'm
oh my God.
you know, I'm a Zenyatta main, so that's not an issue.
Is it the vacuum
Zenyatta
guy
is
or whatever?
the vacuum guy. No, he's like a floating like monk robot, but he's really slow. He moves very slowly. He does, and he's not a tank. You can one shot him. So
Yeah, like I've had one-on-ones like with somebody playing as the robot guy, and I'm just like giving it everything I've got, and the health is just like barely fucking going down. Like it is like you need a team shot like that robot guy in most scenarios. Yeah. John, what are your thoughts on this? I think you muted. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So, like Sean said, I'm waiting for Marvel Rivals to come out for something like this. I mean, it is just a beta. Like, I could just get into it and play it, test it out, see how I like it. I am kind of busy with the first Descendant too. I'm thoroughly enjoying that, and we'll get into it soon. But yeah, I mean, it seems like something I'd be into. It kind of reminds me of Valorant a little bit. That scares me, but that's yeah, I'll test it out.
Well, I'll say in terms of like Valorant, so when you first start playing, up until you hit rank 6, you only have access to one playlist, which is very like user friendly and like laid back. It's basically the respawn typical playlist, like unlimited revives, like team deathmatch stuff like that. At level 6, you unlock the playlist that's more like Valorant, where it's like planting the bombs with like limited revives, like only one revive per person. So I think they had a really nice balance with that. Mark, what are you thinking on this?
I mean, it does sound like an interesting game, but my experiences with this is like if I don't have a group of people to play with, I get bored of them so fast. Like if I was on a better schedule to constantly be playing with you guys, I'd probably be more open to it. Like from some of the clips and stuff I've seen, it looks like it's a pretty fun game. Like it has some decent pacing to it. And when it comes out, maybe I'll get it. We'll see. Because the weekly update thing does sound pretty cool. I just have to kind of see where the game's at when it's released. See if it just tickles my fancy just enough to buy it. But for right now, I'm pretty satisfied with my current shooter sort of load.
Nice. No, that's totally fair. And Anthony, yeah, this usually isn't your type of thing, but like, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it looks really cool. Like the what you're describing, like a bit like playstyle wise, does sound cool. It's just it's the fact that it's purely PvP that is just like I can dabble in PvP like you've seen in Destiny, but I show up for the PvE and I just dip into the PvP. With this, it's like all there is there to do is the PvP. So it's like something like when it's released fully, and if a bunch of you guys are playing it, and it's free, like I'll jump in with you guys an evening like or something to give it a go. But that's really the best I can really say at this point. Like maybe that'll change my mind. Jump in with you guys for a couple hours. Um, no, sorry, I won't say a couple hours. Couple matches, couple hours. I just remember trying Dead by Daylight with you guys for a couple hours, and it was like, why did I commit to this many hours? I hate this game. No offense, I know several of you guys love the game. Like it's no knock at the game. This is a me issue, believe me. But yeah, I'll definitely jump in with a couple matches at full release. Because it is going to be free to play. You said, right?
No.
No. Okay,
No.
then never mind.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of. I think I'm thinking of Marvel Rivals, maybe.
Yeah, I think
Is that-
Rivals is supposed to
Yeah,
be
that's
free
free to play. Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Okay,
looking like a 2025 release date sometime in
okay.
there.
Yeah, I mixed up the information there. But yeah, okay. If it's not free to play, then I'm hard out on
Yeah,
that.
no, I was gonna say it after you were done. Yeah, it's not free to play. They went the Helldivers route with the $49.99, not full price. I think it's a decently fair price. I definitely could have seen a world where this would have been like a free to play system. I think one of the things that kind of leaned in my favor of me not minding that is free to play, especially after playing the beta, is what I'll get into later in the episode was my absolute frustration with the first Descendant and the free to play aspects in that and like the microtransactions. So like this was kind of like a nice breath of fresh air after that. But yeah, no. Even $49.99 is a bit of a steep entry fee for something that is strictly just online. But I am excited for it. There are rumors going around that they are developing a PvE mode. Only time will tell, because like the menus specifically label everything as like PvP, which is kind of like weird because it's just like, well, if everything's PvP, why do you have to like label it as that? But only time will tell. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Maybe they had to label it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you go ahead.
No, you go.
All right. I know it was just the beta, so I assume not. But I was curious. Like, I'm assuming this game is a live service game. I know it's purchase to play, but I assume it's going to be some form of microtransactions. Like, was there any like hint to what those would look like in the beta?
They had no
I assume
sign of the microtransactions. My guess is going to be cosmetics and battle pass probably, and then
okay.
possibly down the line other free gunners, which is what the characters are called. But the game itself gives you 16 playable characters.
16.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, for $50. That's pretty good. Yeah.
All right. What were you gonna say, Sean?
Oh, I was gonna say they probably had to label it PvP. 'Cause people probably saw the trailer. They're like, "Well, this cinematic is this epic single player game or whatever," and then they didn't watch the rest of the trailer. So it's like, oh, we have to put PvP in there because people didn't watch our full trailer and they think this is like
review bomb it because they're like, I misinterpreted the trailer. 4 out of 10.
I did not bother to do any research on this game before purchasing.
I thought this was Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
The title screen just pops up. It says like Concord, and the next one's just like in large letters, PvP only. All right, so Mark, you have been playing Trails Through Daybreak. How has that been going?
I have, and I'm really happy you brought up the second one getting released last week because I was able to remember about this one and had released a couple days prior, and I've been having a wonderful time playing it. So this one, it's not it's not like a direct continuation from the previous series from Reverie. It takes place like I'm pretty sure like a handful of years in the future in a different continent. So like it's attached to the main one, but like you never actually end up traveling to this one because like they're the evil continent in the other one. But yeah, so you pretty much take place as like a detective guy who like his slogan is he only takes on that's him right there. He only takes on complicated sort of things, and I haven't found out too much about his backstory and stuff yet. It's one of the things where it's like he comes off as a very relaxed guy, but he has a really complicated backstory that you kind of find out as you go along and you experience more things. The story so far, I've been really digging the story. But what has really impressed me about the game is the actual gameplay mechanics. So through all the Trails of Cold Steel, they did change it up bit by bit as they were going through it. And like they just add like a little bit more, they tweaked something, but like the core combat mechanics were all pretty much the same. So this one does have the standard like turn-based mode like the other one did. But another thing that they added in, which I really like, so like if you're fighting just like a bunch of low-level mobs, you don't actually have to initiate a turn-based thing, because you can do like a sort of live action sort of fight where you only have a very limited set of moves, like pretty much X, and then once you charge up a meter, you can do like a charge attack. And then once you deploy your shards, is what they call it, that's when like the turn base can happen, and then you can do all the big moves with all your guys. So like it's just a nice way, like if you're going through a bunch of mobs and stuff like that, you don't have to load up the encounter, then like select all these things. Just like, oh, I can just pick this one guy and I can mow through these enemies real quick, and like there's never a kind of stop in the action. Another thing as well is they don't actually like teleport you to a different screen whenever you start the combats. Like wherever the combat is, that's where the combat happens. And so like there's no loading screens going in and out of combat. It just seamlessly like combat starts, and then once it ends, you just get control of the character you're like controlling before going in there, and you can run around again. So it's been really fun. I'm really excited to platinum this game, and the second one, I'm really excited for that one to come out. But yeah, overall, great experience. It definitely makes me very excited to continue the series even more. Yeah, the Legend of Heroes is definitely a great series for anybody who likes those JRPGs, and definitely would recommend it very highly to anybody who wants to get into it. Another thing too, for this one, because of the skip in time, like you don't have to feel like you have to go play the prior games, because this is like the start of a new arc. Like they've mentioned some of the previous characters from the Trails from Trails of Cold Steel game. There's just like only like 2 or 3 they've mentioned so far, but you haven't actually seen them. So it's not like you have to know who these characters are to understand it, because they're like, oh yeah, this person, they were kind of like blah 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 blah, and they give like a brief explanation on it. So it's not like you have to follow beat every single game leading up to this in order to understand what's going on, because this is its own story arc starting from like a fresh standpoint sort of deal.
Okay. Do you think this one, like from what you played so far, out of all the other Trails games you played, do you think this one will take like the top spot?
We'll have to see. Like, I've been really enjoying the combat and everything like that, but like I did really enjoy the story and everything. It's like the main selling point to these games for me is the story aspects. So far I've been really enjoying the story and how it's going. The combat's been really fun to go, and I'm only in chapter 2. I think it goes up to chapter 5, but the chapters are pretty long. And I think there's one additional one, because I guys kind of briefly looked at a guide to see how long the game kind of was. But yeah, like there looks like there's a lot to do in here, so I'll have to properly explore that out to kind of figure out what my full opinion on is based on the last games. But yeah, it's been a really good experience so far. All the Trails games I've played have been a lot of fun, and this one looks like it's going to be up there as well.
Nice. Yeah, like I've never played a Trails game myself, but I'm definitely adding this one to the wish list for eventually down the line for a sale. Because how you described it, and then how Mr. Matty Plays, the one podcaster, like praises the series, I have like wanted to check it out. Anthony, I know you're in a similar boat. You ended up wishlisting this, right? I think.
Yeah, yeah. The distinct differences you described from like the original one, Trails of Cold Steel. I did try to jump into the first one at one point, and I was having a good time. It's just like we were talking about the other day, like the whole school sim aspect. That's part of a big reason why I've had a hard time getting into like a lot of the Persona games. I just don't know what it is. It's not what I like. But like I know there was some similarities in some of the things you do that might cross over with that, but it just sounds so much different. And then it still carries like the traditional type of combat that with its own twist on it. So it does sound like something I might give it, similar to like how I kind of feel about Metaphor Refantasio coming out. How it's like same studio, kind of different. I mean, although I imagine that one's much more different from Persona than this is from the other one. So yeah, definitely add it to my wish list. Probably not a day one for me, but definitely going to check it out at some point for sure.
Cool. John, have you ever played any of the Trails games? Is this something up your alley?
It is up my alley. I have not played any of them. I do you kind of want to get into it? The things that Mark has like said about them, it interests me quite a bit. So I think I might dive into it. Mark, do you have any recommendations like for like? Do you think the first one is like cheaper on console now? Because I wouldn't mind.
Like first and foremost, the first one is actually the first one in the line of the Legend of Heroes, and like this is all one continuous storyline. Was released in 1998. So like there's a lot of these games. Like before the Trails series, before the Trails Cold Steel series, I think there's 10 prior games. So like even in the Trails of Cold Steel, you actually encounter like the lead characters from these prior games. And then in Reverie, all of the main characters from those games kind of come together to like complete the sort of crisis that's happening. I really enjoyed the Trails of Cold Steel ones. They go on sale pretty often. So like if you ever see, especially like when they do like a kind of like JRPG sale, it's almost guaranteed at least two of the games in the series are going to be on sale. And because they've been out so long, the sales are sometimes are pretty good on them as well. So it just pretty much just throw it on like a wish list and keep an eye on it because like you probably be able to see a sale within a month, I would imagine, if there's not already one.
I did pick up Roy at GameMD. They had like the PS4 games thing where it was like buy two get one half off. I can't remember the deal around it, but I ended up doing that. And two of the three games I picked up was the third and fourth installment of Cold Steel. Obviously, I didn't have access to 1 and 2, but it was like they're anime style games. So I picked them. So John, if you do delve into those at some point and you get 1 and 2 and you get through them, you can borrow. You have a do you have a disc drive on your PS4, PS5?
Oh
you
yeah,
don't?
I do. Yeah, I
Oh,
do.
you do. Okay, yeah.
I thought
You
you were
can,
saying
by
my
all means,
PC.
if you get delving deep enough into it and you get through the first two games, you can borrow those. No problem.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Sean, what are your thoughts on the Trail series?
Well, I didn't even know it was part of the series that Mark had been mentioning. I just was kind of scrolling through like news and stuff like that and saw that there was like an RPG detective game, and I was like, oh, I love detectives. So I checked out the trailer and stuff like that. It looks cool. I kind of don't want to RPG myself out before Metaphor, because I feel like Metaphor is going to be a pretty beefy game. Although I am intrigued. Although when I looked at the trailer, like I was like, oh, I was imagining like modern day detective, which it kind of looks like a little bit, but it was I don't know, like something akin to like the Persona games and stuff like that. I like those kinds of RPGs that are set in like a non-fantastical kind of world. But it looks interesting. It looks cool. And maybe. But it looks great. Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I get so burnt out on RPGs, like because they take so long, and then I want to go back. Like I still want to platinum Persona 3 Reload, but I just don't have the balls. All I have to do is max out all my social links. But I have to play through the whole game again. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Mark, any final
Also,
thoughts?
I left for a bit, so I didn't hear Elijah was saying, "I need daddy," and screaming. So
any final thoughts, Mark?
Just to expand on what Sean said, I do understand what you mean. It's like I think my median time for platinuming these games is around like 60 hours a piece, and I've done 5 of them. So this will be my 6th one in the installment. But like that's me going through and doing everything and like with multiple playthroughs. If I just ignored the most of the stuff and I just sprinted to the end, like you can throw it on easy mode and just do like a full sprint, and it's way easier to do. I think a lot of especially if you get the deluxe editions, they give you a lot of stuff for free level ups and stuff like that. So like in the later game, you can just up all your characters' levels by like 10 or 15, and you just freaking steamroll everything.
Yeah, I'm not much of a multiple playthrough guy. That's the problem. I find that when I'm finished a game, I'm like, all right, I need a palate cleanser because, as you guys know, I'm a very fancy bitch. So I need a palate cleanser to, what's the term? To cleanse my palate. Uh, if you guys didn't
Power
know what
wash.
palate cleansers are, so
Gotta power wash it.
Gotcha.
I can power wash my tongue.
All right. Next up, we have the first Descendant. Anthony, I'll let you go. Start us off with this one.
Yeah, so I had my eye on this game for a little while. I knew it was from Nexon, so I didn't have like a lot of expectations, but like it's definitely something that was on my list of releases that I want to check out. Unfortunately, I was gone last week when it released, but as soon as I got back, I jumped right into it, and there's lots wrong with this game. Let's start with that. I'll start by saying that there's a lot wrong with this game. Okay, there's the microtransactions are insane. Um, the grindiness is like so disrespectful to the player's time. Um, and uh, yeah, but the thing is, I love it. Like, I fucking I love it. Like I've started this week, and I think I'm at like 50 hours played, and it's just so the gameplay is fast and smooth. It almost gives me similar vibes to when we were playing Suicide Squad, Chris. Um, Definitely a little same feeling, not as vertical, I would say, but the fast pacedness feels more somewhat akin to that. Maybe not as smooth as Suicide Squad because there's a lot like this is your. I don't know about you, Chris, but the melee attack you use in this game just is like dog water. Like it's not even worth using because the animation is slow. And I know there's mods you can equip to change what your melee does, but I haven't gotten too many. But yeah, gameplay just feels great. The character I've been using is Bunny, which is the poster child of the game. Um, and she has a very good gameplay loop of you pop this AoE where it's like this pulsing circle of electricity, and the pulse, the frequency of it is based on distance traveled. So what you do is your grapple hook when it pulls you fast, which you're traveling that set distance quicker, so your pulse goes quicker. But also you have an ability that you can just sprint really fast. So you pop your AoE, you pop your sprint, and you just run through the crowds. And the way mana and health work in this game is they're droppable consumables. You just run over to get your health and mana back. So you just get gear that increases consumable drop rate, and you just keep regenerating mana as you're sprinting through. So you like infinitely sprint with this AoE, and then you stack cooldown reduction. So like as soon as the AoE ends, you just restart it, and it's just never ending loop. The unfortunate thing is a lot of the other characters don't have an identity like this. Like it's very much just like, oh, I got an ability, I throw it out sometimes, but otherwise I'm shooting you. That's what seems like a lot of the characters are. There are some other ones that have unique playstyles, like Valby, the water chick, does. I've heard the girl Glay, she's like more um, vampiric. Like she doesn't have a shield. She does damage by sacrificing health, stuff like that. Apparently, she like deletes bosses. Um, and there's a couple other unique ones, but Bunny, I've been having a ton of fun with. The story, I totally skipped it. No idea. I've read, or I've heard people describe it as like a Zack Snyder's Justice League story equivalent. Just not good though. Um, and I've also heard the voice acting is really bad, but I wouldn't know again because I pretty much skipped every single cutscene. I was just like, go, go, go. Um, but so let's talk about the grinding. So the grinding, so you could spend $100 to get like say the ultimate bunny variant, which is a separate character from the base version. It's like $100 something for the bundle, or you can grind out to craft the character. The thing is though, you have 4 components you need to craft the character. Within each of those 4 components, you have 4 materials that you have to grind, and some of them are like quantity based, like, oh, you need 800 of this, 300 of this. But then the fourth item will be this item that has a 3% drop rate on like some activity. But the thing is, it's like you go do this activity to get some item that's 100% drop rate. Then you have to do this activity while you have this item, and you at the end of this activity you use the item, and that's where you get the 3%. So it's like they just put in this extra step just to waste people's time. That part does annoy me. However, like, I gotta get that ultimate bunny, so I'm putting in the time. What else was oh yeah, the campaign. It was basically like I put like a note here. So in somewhat Destiny terms, the entirety of the campaign goes as follows: do a few patrols, do a strike, do a few more patrols, do another strike, do a few patrols, fight a giant boss. Now repeat that for all 9 regions of the map, and then that's the campaign. Like, that's it. So it's literally just all about the characters and then the grinding. That's pretty much all this game seems to be to me. But at the same time, I can't stop playing it. So yeah, that's all I have to say so far. But
John, what are your thoughts on it?
So I'm not surprised with the microtransactions at all, because it is Nexon, and Nexon is pure evil. They like Maple Story is the same thing. I'm pretty sure, yeah, they are the ones that got Dark and Darker removed from the Steam store, and that caused a lot of uproar within the Steam community. The game is fun. Like, I've been having quite a bit of fun with it. It is not as grindy right now for me, because I'm still kind of like near the beginning. I'm only in like the second area. My main I picked was Ajax, and immediately it just stopped playing as him, started playing as Bunny. I think it'll be like that for me for every character that I end up unlocking. Is just like I'll end up going with that character. I don't think I'm gonna stick with it long enough to get an ultimate. But right now
it's long. It's long.
It does seem long, but it is like a good like you don't have to think too hard while you're playing the game. So it is a good like just chill and play. So
And to be
Yeah.
fair, like, outside the ultimates, most of the other characters, the grind isn't too bad. There seems to be like 2 tiers of character. One is like the 4 items you need for it. You can just get that item as a drop, and they're like 20% drop chance for each of the 4 items. Like, just last night I learned I needed to do this activity for the ultimate bunny part, that I need a different character to do because you have to do it in stealth. So I spent like an hour and a half grinding for her materials, and I got all of them. So like there's certain characters where they're pretty easy to get done, and then there's like the second tier where it's like those 4 components you need their own components to make them. That's where like it starts to get even more grindy.
I keep seeing a lot of ultimate bunnies as if like people are actually grinding for it. I don't think so. I think people are actually spending the money to get this.
Oh, 100%. Like, there's some
Which is
people that
crazy
have
to me.
grinded, but like the one guy I saw, he grinded it out, and he said it took him 90 hours.
Oh my god.
So like
That's like
there's
that's the
definitely
entirety
people,
of a game.
yeah, there's definitely people that have that many hours in this game, but like for the amount of bunnies ultimate bunnies you're seeing, it doesn't match that number. So people are definitely spending like $130 on that
You'd be
character.
surprised. You'd be surprised
Jesus.
what people pay for boobs, you know?
Yeah, the crazy.
Oh man.
All right, so I'll go next, I guess. Yeah, I'm done with this game.
After that
Yeah.
thrilling review
No,
of
so-
how grindy it is.
I gave it some honest try. Like, even like last week, John and Mark, when we did the podcast, like I was definitely like positive on what I briefly played, and then like I did more sessions, like a couple with Anthony, and I, as somebody who doesn't play a lot of like games that have like this severe microtransactions, I continuously got very, very frustrated. Like, the thing was, what was it? Monday night I was close to crafting an exotic weapon, but I was tired. I was like, oh, I'll just do that tomorrow. So I hop on the next day. I do the things to get the remaining pieces for the exotic weapon. I'm like, okay, cool. Can't wait to use this. And I go to the thing. It's like, all right, it will be 4 hours until your weapon is ready for you. And I was just like, it's like you
the
can
thunder
pay.
cage.
You can pay to make the timer go faster. I'm like, well, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I played for like 2 hours that night. It was just like, I'll try it tomorrow. If I don't find this weapon fun enough, I'm probably gonna be done with this game. So the next day I partied up with Anthony. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go craft this thing. So the weapon's crafted. I grab it and immediately I look at it and it's like, it's level 1. It's not matched to the level I crafted it at. So I'm like, okay, so now I have to infuse a weapon into this, but I was out of the material to infuse the weapon. So I had to wait 10 minutes for the material to get crafted to infuse it, or spend money to make the craft time go faster. So I sat there, waited the 10 minutes, got the gun, leveled up, went into patrol zone, shot 3 enemies with it. It was like, I'm done. I'm done. Like,
Oh no.
like, I'm okay with like certain aspects of monetization. Like, I've been a sucker for spending stuff like cosmetics, battle passes. I totally get. But like when a game hinders you like that and just kills any drive to like grind, like I just can't do it. I was just like, it was and
Yeah,
I
you could tell.
regretted spending the money on the poison chick just because of how quick I dropped off. Yeah. That was another thing too. Before I throw it back to you, Anthony, because you're about to say something. But like one of the other characters I was looking at was the medic guy, which is one of the people who like you need like the resources to craft each thing. Like I really wanted to play as him, like seeing how grindy it is for Anthony with like the ultra thing. If I wanted to just spend the money to unlock that character, I would have to buy the 26.99 currency to unlock him because that covers majority of his costs. So yeah, what were you gonna say, Anthony?
Yeah, you could tell it's an Exxon, man. Like they push you to pay like so frequently. And they do the same thing, like even on a more similar to everyone scale. Like they do the thing where it's like, oh, the bundle's 300, but you can only buy 250. So you have to buy 250 plus another 100, and now you have an extra 50 that you can't spend on shit. I feel like there should be like a fucking lawsuit to stop all these people from doing this. Like all these online microtransaction games.
I'd be for that.
Just outlaw the secondary currency system where it's like just pay real money for item, no in between currency. Anyway, sorry.
No worries. Sean, what did you think of the game?
I literally played the game for like 20 minutes, and I wasn't interested in it to begin with. It was just free, and like I was saying earlier, I don't really have anything like mind blowing to play coming off the end of Shadow of the Erdtree. So I was like, you know what, I'll try it out. So coming from a game that's like a master class in like, fun and discovery and gameplay, and turning on this like third person shooter that was really like clunky and slow, and like the dialogue was really cheesy. I couldn't get into it. It wasn't for me. And I was debating whether or not to give it a second chance, but I'm not really much into like games with heavy microtransactions. Like I have no interest in that. Being maybe if there was like, every year 5 games came out, I'd be like, all right, I'll play one with microtransactions. But there's so many better games to play where you just buy them, and there's Steam summer sales going on right now. And there's so many games that you can get, and you can spend 60, 70, 80 hours in those games, and you pay maybe $10. Like, I just couldn't justify it, and I just didn't like it. So
Yeah, no,
that's it. I wouldn't put it anywhere near my mouth, to be fair.
Yeah, before I do toss it to Mark, to carry on what you said, like that was another thing that I was like I think I fought 3 of the bosses, like the big bosses. And like they were, or no, I think 2, but like they were just not fulfilling fights. Granted, like I think I remember telling Anthony that day, like probably doesn't help that I just came from like Shadow of the Erdtree where you have like those really dope fights. But like even comparative to like say Destiny, just like the fights just seem so like similar and bland that like that was also killing the drive to keep going. But the microtransaction shit was just like that final nail in the coffin, where I was like, "Fuck this game so much." I'm glad that Anthony and John are having fun with it. I don't want to deter
I'm
anyone
not.
from having fun with it, but that game is dead.
Anyone who's having fun with this game, go screw yourself.
All right.
I wish we could, man.
The things that Chris is saying makes me not want to play it anymore. To be honest.
Kill the world.
The only thing is like everything in game you can get without paying. It's just it costs a lot of time. That's the other thing.
I have no time.
Well, yeah, I have so much. I'm unemployed currently, so I think that's part of why I'm so into it, because I actually have the time to earn the stuff. Like if I feel like if I was working right now, I probably wouldn't. I would drop this game for sure, because it's too much time.
All right, Mark. What are your thoughts on the first Descendant?
Oh, it's like so like the gameplay itself is fairly fun. I'm not gonna say it's revolutionary, groundbreaking, but like it's a nice, fun, fast-paced thing. But like, there's only a few weapons that I actually enjoy using, and like I didn't really get that up. I never actually even used the upgrade gun thing, and when I got it, because I kind of stopped playing it shortly thereafter. But yeah, it's like the gunplay and everything was pretty fun. The powers, I was using the ice chick. The powers were pretty fun. I never tried bunny, but I did see somebody doing that combo you were talking about, Anthony, where they're just pretty much running around and like they just keep on doing this exact same patrol over and over again. It's basically just them doing a lap around the place, just fucking murdering everything. I'm assuming they're grinding for an ingredient or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it was pretty fun. I wouldn't have as big of a problem with some of the microtransactions if it wasn't for specifically what you mentioned there, Chris, that time gate they have on the crafting of the things, where it's like, oh, you spent 1,000 hours grinding out this material. Now wait 4 hours, or pay us some money, and we'll give it to you faster. And it's just like that. That to me is just so scummy. It's like, why don't we do an hours invested into the game already takes away from that? You owe me 86 hours. So it's just like, yeah, I don't appreciate that at all. That kind of, when the moment I saw that there was the time frame on that, I was just like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And as it was already pointed out, the voice acting, everything on that, I tried listening to a few of the ones. I think the one that specifically broke me was, it was like inside of like their meeting hall, the one guy, and he was trying to be tense, and it just like, it's like there's no passion in this. Like I don't sense any sort of urgency from this guy's voice. And it's just like, there's a bunch of people coming to kill us. It's like, okay, why don't I feel like there's anything to worry about here? But yeah, like the also the campaign loop as well. I kind of figured that's what it was going to be. I only really got past the first area, but yeah, it's just pretty much like, oh hey, mindlessly go into this area, do these, do this. We'll do a short couple of dialogues that you're not going to fucking listen to because they're horrible, and then you'll just go do the same thing over here, over here, over here. Just hopefully you get good guns and stuff like that given to you. But yeah, it was like the gunplay and everything was fun. I can see the appeal to it, but it's just like, especially with the new Trials game, I have absolutely zero interest in ever touching this game ever again. It was a good experience for the few hours I played it. I don't think I'll ever touch it again.
Question for you, Anthony. You said you crafted a character, right?
Yeah.
Was there a timer on that character?
Yeah, anything you craft has a timer. Like for materials.
God.
What was the,
Like,
was
so
the
the-
timer for the character?
So there's two different timers, and it's funny because it's like, remember how I was saying there's like the easier characters to get where it's 4 materials that have 20% drop rate each. those characters have a 16-hour time, which I started crafting it last night. Thank God I did, because I actually had to wait till like 2 p.m. today to even use her, or something. But then it's interesting how they do this, because the characters that take longer grind, they only take 8 hours. Not including the ultimate variants, like just like the second tier type thing. So they take less time to make because you have to grind. It's like, oh, we see that you spend a lot more time grinding for this character, so we'll knock 8 hours off the timer. Yeah, it's egregious.
ridiculous.
Yeah, the only thing I can't even defend something like that. The only thing I can really say is like to mitigate material costs is like you just have to keep stock of when you don't need it. You know what I mean? But like that's not ideal. That's annoying. And that's what I've done. Like the material you were talking about, Chris, that you had to use to infuse your weapon. I consistently, every time I use one, I craft one, and I just keep one on me at all times. But I shouldn't have to do that. Like, I really hope they get rid of that time. Like, I don't know how this population for this game is going to go. I think the 90-hour time frame for people to get bunny, I think that's when you'll see the population drop, because they're gonna like, we got the character with the booty, we don't need to play anymore, and that's kind of what my plan is. So.
All right. Any final thoughts on the first Descendant before we move on?
I'm going to uninstall it.
We fully killed the game, John.
We did it, boys.
Did it.
Okay, successful podcast. Good job, guys.
That's a
And
wipe.
That's a wipe.
All right. Sean, tell us about your journey into the Erdtree.
Well, my journey into the Erdtree was a magical one. It is something I've been waiting for, just more Elden Ring, and I wasn't disappointed. Luckily for me, I had a save file where I was like right at the end of the game, so I just had to go back to Moog's Arena and go in, and I didn't have to do anything extra. I will say, first impressions of the game, like there's a lot of what I appreciated about Elden Ring is it kind of followed that rule of like every 10 minutes in a certain direction. I would say like even less than that, every 4 minutes in a direction you find something. I find Shadow of the Erdtree is a little bit more empty than the base game was, which was kind of my initial complaint, because it didn't really make me want to explore every nook and cranny initially, up until I got to later in the game and I was like, I need skidoo tree or shadow tree fragments, so I should start exploring everything, and I'm glad I did, because it turns out it still is a little bit more empty than the base game for Elden Ring, but there's lots of like secret bosses that I was able to find, secret areas, lots of like cool items to play around with. I think the most thing that came out of this was, in the base game I was very much stuck to a build. I really liked my faith build, and I stuck with that through the game. On a second playthrough, I did a full strength build, and I was really enjoying the strength build, and I'm like, that's it. And that's all I'm ever going to do. And then coming into Shadow of the Erdtree, I was like, this isn't going to work. Like, for a couple of like main bosses, I won't spoil any like big ones, but like Mesmer, for example, like my slow strength build wasn't going to cut it. I ended up doing it with the strength build, but then deciding to switch to a more balanced build for other fights later on. But it was difficult, and I'm not one of those purists. Like, I use my mimic, like I use the odd time I would summon someone. I stopped summoning people after Midra's Manse, just because I summoned this one guy and he was like, let me solo the boss, you've been here for a while, and I was like, that's part of the fun for me, like losing and going back and trying to figure it out, like just kind of playing around. After that, I was like, I'm not summoning people anymore, because I don't want to have to deal with people like, oh, you've been here for a while. It's like, yeah, I know. Thank you. I'm crying already. You don't need to add salt to the wound. Like, I appreciate that you recognize, that time is valuable, but geez. But yeah, I think the bosses were great. There was a couple of reskinned bosses, like secret bosses and stuff. I thought that was fine. I don't think everybody was like, "Oh, this is way harder than the base game." I don't think it is. I think that, it kind of leveled the playing field because they didn't want people to go in with their overlevel builds and just kind of demolish everything. They wanted to have people play around. They wanted to have people have that challenge. Like, they're not going to just be like, "Here's the DLC. It's basically easy mode because you're already overleveled." Like, I thought that was a smart decision. And I enjoyed that because especially like during the last boss, I wasn't even technically playing the game. Like, I was going into the last boss with different weapons, hitting him with the weapon once, seeing how much damage it did, letting him kill me, and trying new builds and new weapons. Like, just kind of cycling through things until I came on to, Chris, as you know, the best build for the last boss. The best build for any boss, I think. Not any boss, not Millennia, because I went back and tried Millennia with the build, and I forgot she heals every time she hits you. I would say the build is a little cheesy, but it's just a big great shield, and I forget what the sword's called, but it's the one you get from one of the bosses. It's like a spear sword, and all you do is you hold up your shield and you just poke. It's easy. You don't have to dodge. You just poke. Does it mean like you have, you go into the boss, that's your strategy, and like you never die? No. I still ended up dying like 50 times doing that strategy, but it definitely made the last boss easier. A lot of people also saying the last boss was harder than Millennia, which is not true at all. Like, I don't think I think there's a comparison to be made. Like, they're both like really fast. They both have kind of like really cheesy moves that can one shot you, but I don't think it ever got to the point where it was like, this is more frustrating than Millennia. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the story. I love what it does to the base story. It kind of like evolves it into, because you learn these certain things through lore, and like you're just like, okay, this is what Moog is. This is what Moog is doing. He's kind of a creeper. He should be on a sex offenders list. And then you go through the game and you learn some stuff, and you're like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. You get to there was characters that were cut from the base game that end up in the DLC, which I think is awesome. I got to try out some kung fu, which is great in theory. In practice, not great. I only beat one boss with the kung fu, and that was Bale. That was just because you get like a hyper shield when you do your move, and also your other move, like I had Frost on, and Bale was super weak against Frost, and it builds up super quickly because you're doing like a kind of like a bunch of kicks at once in succession. But yeah, it was fun. It made me want to. I'm not much to play around with builds. Every FromSoft game I play is always like faith. But this really kind of, I had my sexual my awakening. Sorry, not my sexual awakening. My awakening, and I really enjoyed playing with the builds, and it kind of made me want to go back, and I'll do a new game plus. Just waiting because John, if you need help with the last boss, I'm more than happy to assist. Unless you just want to use your mimic, that's fine too. But it's a lot more fun with two people. So.
John, what are your thoughts on Shadow of the Erdtree so far?
So I haven't made it very far. Reason being is I am bored of my build already, and I kind of wanted to start over, but I could just respec from what I remember.
Yeah, you just need the larva, and you actually get like, I think 3 larvae in DLC, and you can still go back and get the other one. You might even have them.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of doing a different build because my bleed does nothing, right? So it's kind of pointless to have it. So I'm having I had a good time with what I played. I just kind of explored the first area a little bit, went around, killed some stuff, and I was shocked by I was surprised by starting in the new area and just walking down to, you see that little archway that Sean's video is going towards. Walking down to one of those archways and then something jumping off of it and just wrecking my shit. I killed it like almost immediately, but yeah, I can't wait to get to like a boss fight and see what it's all about and see what everybody's been talking about. I don't know if I want to restart the whole game over, so respecking is definitely ideal.
Did you get the screaming when you got to the first area? Like I
So-
remember going into the woods and literally I almost had a heart attack.
Yeah, so
Is-
I walked up to a goat, and all of a sudden there was a scream, and the goat ran away, and I like jumped out of my seat, and then walked around a little bit more, and I was like just quiet and peaceful, and then I got to like some birds on a cliff, and all of a sudden just a loud scream again. The birds flew away, and yeah, that screaming is unsettling. I don't know, does that happen a lot, or is it just
No, that's just
first-
those monuments, the like mini arches in the forest. Those are what scream. I actually had this thought, like not just because the screaming, but playing through the DLC. I think FromSoft is making survival horror games. I don't think these are adventure games. Like, because I've never been so on the edge of my seat in any game I've ever played than this. Like, there's sections where like you're just looking over the edge and a boar, like a boar that doesn't attack you like immediately when you go by it. A boar just rams you off the edge. I'm like, I jump out of my chair. Like they're making horror games. I don't know what this genre is called. Well, like Souls likes or whatever, but I think they're horror games.
Oh, is that it, John?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I didn't know if you were finished. Okay, I'll go next. Yeah, I didn't play too much this week because like the big thing this week was, as I promised Sean, that once I got to the final boss, I would, for the first time ever, do co-op in Elden Ring. Which I was definitely like nervous from how like a lot of people were like describing like this fight. Without like any spoilers to like the final boss itself, there were definitely some bullshit mechanics to like, as like because it's like one thing like when you're learning like fight solo, it's another thing like when you're doing it with another person. Like there were like funny things to like how the whole thing was done. I think one of my favorite moments was like randomly, I think on like the 10th attempt, Sean, I just go to walk in and do the usual routine of leading like the boss away, but like the boss decided to do a move just immediately, and like I walked through the portal and it one hit killed me, and it was just dead. I'm like, okay, and then Sean's just like, okay, bye, and then
It was bullshit because you had to do that because as soon as he entered, the boss would do this move where they like zoom towards you, and then there's a huge AOE spike. And every time I would walk into the arena, I would lose most of my health. There was one time I wasn't even inside the boss room and it hit me. And I was like, what the like this is so bullshit. Like that was the hardest part, was getting in the door.
But it was satisfying getting the kill on that boss. I ended up adapting to what Sean did. The nice thing was I didn't have to really fuck with my build at all. Like I maintained my like up until the final boss, I did my strength intelligence build with the focus on sword and shield, and then like my staff for like the cheap spells that me and Mark have greatly discussed over the past couple weeks. The only thing I had to tweak was early into the DLC, I ended up getting one of those larvateers to respec, mainly just to take, because I had like 70 intelligence, 70 strength. I just took 5 away from each to bump up my my vigor a bit, like just because like it was, I wanted to get it to like a little bit of a better threshold. Yeah, and then after we killed the final boss, Sean took me to a couple of side bosses I totally missed, and there was like a really funny moment that unfortunately it doesn't like record my audio because of a setting that Sean didn't get the proper clip. But it was basically, we went to like this one area where you have to do a lot of jumping. So that I'd been there before. And Sean's just like, okay, so we just gotta do a lot of jumping. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I've been here before. And I go to immediately like run to jump, but I mistime my jump, and just like within seconds, I just fall to my death.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I wish I have the clip. It just doesn't have your voice, but it's so funny. Like the timing was like comedic genius, because it was like, okay, like we're in the flooded cathedral, and I was like, okay, like there's just a lot of jumping to get to where we go. He's like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm familiar, and then dies right after saying that, just jumps in the water. And I was like, oh, all right.
Oh man.
Oh Jesus.
The funny thing too was on the last boss, we were having a heck of a time, and we were trying to figure out if Chris could drop a shield and I could go level it and then give it back to him. Unfortunately, if I did that and gave it back to Chris, it would just be the level that he leveled it up to. But at that point, he had already summoned me, so I was like, "Oh, well, let's just go die, and then we'll come back and we'll figure something out." And that's actually when we beat the boss.
Yeah,
Was
we
just
just
going
gave an
to
honest
die.
attempt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was it was a satisfying fight. I was glad to get her done. And like Sean said, I even mentioned this when we were playing. I was like, John, when eventually if you get that boss fight, because you can do summon two people, right, to help you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm down. Like I've got the game installed on the hard drive, so I'm down to answer the call and join the battle.
Get
Alright.
more bosses
That's
under our
that's
belt.
that's the plan. That's what we're gonna do then.
The Avengers Assemble moment. Before I go to Mark, because I know Mark, you've talked about this a couple times the past 2 weeks, so you haven't really played it, and you don't have any incentive going to it. So I'm actually gonna throw it to Anthony next, just because like this is totally not up his alley at all. Like, what are your thoughts on Shadow the Erdtree?
I mean, the giant hammer looks pretty cool, but yeah, not my thing. I respect it, but I don't have the not willpower, the patience. I'm trying to think of the right word. It's just I'm not compatible with it. I get frustrated too easily. I'm not patient. The only time I've been able to overcome those issues in gaming so far has really just been like Destiny rating. I'm not saying Destiny is equivalent in difficulty to this. I don't know, but it's one of the harder things I've experienced in gaming that I've overcome, and I attribute that to the multiplayer, like the hardships shared between players that you're with. I think takes the edge off. But yeah, playing solo these games, like I don't know what it is. Even like Bloodborne's considered like like one of the easier ones. Is that correct?
No.
No. Okay. Because that was one of the ones I tried, and I was like, I couldn't even get past the intro of the game, and I tried playing it like 4 different times, and I'm like, 4 separate times of multiple attempts when I play. And yeah, so the game looks awesome, but yeah, it's just not compatible with it, unfortunately.
Any? Oh, go ahead, John.
I almost cried when you said Bloodborne.
Yeah,
was one
Bloodborne
of
was
the easier
probably
ones.
like one of the hardest ones besides
Oh, really?
Sekiro. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, I played Bloodborne for a little bit. There was one, I think it was like a giant sort of like wolf boss. That's where I stopped playing the game because like I was like 20 attempts in. I'm like, okay, I need to recharge a little bit and then I'll come back and face it. And that was several years ago.
It's time to come back, Mark. It's such a good game. The story is, well, I mean, you don't have to play the game you barely get the story from playing the game, but the story is probably one of FromSoft's best.
Yeah, it was a great game. It was really good combat. I really enjoyed the weapons in it, but yeah, it was difficult.
Any thoughts on Shadow, Mark? Outside of that,
No,
okay.
I've said all I need
Brilliant.
to say on it.
All right. Next up, we got. Or actually, yeah. Any final thoughts, Sean, before we move on?
Oh, final thoughts? I mean, yeah, guys, play it. Don't stop playing the first Descendant. Play Shadow of the Erdtree or play Elden Ring.
I'm already done
Come on.
with the first
Come
Descendant.
on, I have a question for you though, Chris. And being someone who hasn't experienced co-op in Elden Ring, like, what were your thoughts? Like, was it what you imagined? Like, or were you totally put off from it? Like, because it does add like, there's kind of a loop of like going into a boss and then dying and then going into a boss and then doing the co-op kind of adds an element. You need all those items to summon somebody. Like there's sometimes it kind of glitches out. Like when you use the item, you don't see the summoning thing right away. Like I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the multiplayer aspect of Elden Ring, that being that this is your first time.
It definitely FromSoft could definitely refine it to be better. Like especially the issues we were having with like the summoning. it was like a really fun experience. I think my only takeaway from it is I like the idea of it better as a like say like letting us just fight the bosses over and over again and just being able to summon. Like I liked the one of the things I did find really satisfying with most of the Shadow of the Erdtree and then most of Elden Ring was as somebody who doesn't play Souls games, I had a lot of satisfaction in being like, oh, I fought these guys solo. Like, obviously use Mimic, obviously use like spells and stuff like that. But I did like do these fights like solo as somebody who normally doesn't play these types of games. And like that's not to take away like what me and you went through with that fucking final boss. Like that was a satisfying experience actually after that fucker pulled some bullshit multiple times on us. Like it was still satisfying, like don't get me wrong. But I do like the idea of the co-op as like something to add something different into the experience. Like it kind of like made the game feel very different at that time. But I do think I still like just like that core single player experience best.
I know there was
go ahead.
discussion of like, you know, like a FromSoft seamless co-op experience where you could do, because I like the idea of what they do. I remember playing the first Demon Souls or playing Demon Souls and being like, I love the messages. I love how it's all like everybody's interconnected but apart. But I think there's something to be said about, you know, you've released all these games. They all have similar kind of co-op styles outside of Sekiro. Like it's like Elden Ring, I think would be a blast. Like I think it'd be a lot of fun. So but yeah, I completely agree. It's kind of like it is a little bit outdated. I get why they do it that way. You should wear it proud though, because every boss you fight in co-op has extra health. So if you're using like a mimic or you know whatever, like any spirit ashes, like it has the same health bar, but when you summon someone else, like it basically has double the health. So
Thing froze for a second like earlier, but I did get the gist of what you said. It was a little worrisome. Fuck, I totally lost the train of thought that I was gonna go into.
you were saying something about kissing boys.
No, for legal for legal reasons, it's not doctor disrespect.
I think that's a very fair assumption.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, Shadow of the Erdtree is dope. I got so worried about like my computer crashing that the train of thought I had is completely out the fucking window.
I mean, you have had to go through that once, so
Yeah.
that is very fair.
All right, so next up we have Eternium, and that is a game that Anthony is playing, right?
Yeah, so somewhat briefly, it's an app game that is it's basically like Diablo. It's completely free to play. It's fairly old at this point. I think they're actually reworking some stuff for it to kind of keep it going. But it's one of like the best free to play approaches I've played within the app game sphere. You know how egregious it can get there. Like first Descendant probably has nothing on some of the stuff you'll find in some of the apps. But so yeah, the graphics aren't the top notch. Like it doesn't look like Diablo or anything, but it's really fun. And what I really love about it is the way you use your abilities. So it's not like you have like a virtual joystick where you move a character. You tap to move, kind of more in line with like a Diablo game. I think Diablo Immortal might play like that as well. But when to use your abilities, you slot your abilities in the menu and you do like swipes in certain configurations on your screen to use them. So for example, a quick V will use an ability or like an upside down V basically. We'll do another one, or a quick W will do one. I think a circle does one. It's just a really interesting idea rather than having like icons on the bottom corner that you click, because then no matter where you're tapping on your screen to walk, at any moment you just quickly do your signature, or not signature, what did I call them? Symbol, whatever. Yeah, you just do it wherever you're tapping, so you don't have to like quickly go to the bottom. And I really like it. The currency that you buy, you can earn in game. You just get it as drops, which is kind of cool. It's definitely a somewhat more long term free to play approach, because like some of the negatives being that, like, so say you have like three skills, like abilities, sorry, that you can use. when you first start playing, you only have one ability slot. The other two are locked, and you have to use the currency to unlock them. But like I said, you earn currency just by playing. You get it as drops. So you still have access to one of your abilities as you're leveling, but until you get enough of the dropped currency to unlock those slots, the quickest route would be to just spend money. But like I said, it didn't take too long, and the game doesn't pose a huge challenge where you're so hindered for not having those extra slots. Um, Story-wise, meaningless. You know, it's literally just the Diablo gameplay loop of kill stuff to get gear, to make yourself stronger, to kill stronger stuff, to get better gear, rinse and repeat. Um, and yeah, I played it a bunch on the drive out to Toronto. Like as you guys know, I missed the last 2 episodes, so I played it quite a bit. Well, great travel game because it. I just remembered the key of why I was playing it. I hadn't played it in like a year or two, and I just learned. I was trying to find something free to play, offline playable. And there's like nothing out there, man. Unless you want some stupid like puzzle game or something like Candy Crush or some equivalent in that space. Like a good game that's offline playable that doesn't cost money. Because there's like the Final Fantasies on there, whatever. Good games like that. But I wanted something free. I didn't want to spend money. I did not realize this was completely offline playable. So yeah, I played it a bunch on the plane. Great game. I definitely recommend it to anyone who likes playing on their phone. Um, More so as a time killer, though. Not something like you'd see yourself sinking, 6 hours a day into kind of game, but definitely a fun little game. I know the developers, I guess, are working on a new game, so I'm probably gonna actually check that out at some point. I don't know if it's mobile though or not, or if it's supposed to be like an actual, real game. No offense, mobile games, but yeah, no, it's lots of fun.
Nice.
Very good.
Mark, do you see yourself downloading this to play at work?
I'm still super hooked on to Monster Hunter now. Just been fucking obliterating all the monsters. In fact, in 1 minute, I am going to have to step away to go into my bathroom so I can hit the the huntathon that's happening across the street because it has the 8-star devil ho I need to kill.
Get them.
But yeah,
Get that pickle.
I'm going to.
If you gotta take a
Like,
shit, just say so. Like,
Go to the bathroom.
listen, there's a monster that needs to be slayed in my bathroom. Okay, I'm trying to be polite. But yeah, no, it's like it does sound like a cool game, but the Monster Hunter game and when I'm not playing the Monster Hunter game, like especially at work where I do go on my phone most often, I'm either like watching videos on Dropout or like YouTube, or I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends on Discord. So like it sounds interesting, but I have my plate full with mobile stuff right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. John, how about you?
Actually, yeah, this
Speaking
does
of
look like
which.
something I would download and play. I might actually do it right after the podcast. Just watching like Sean's screen right now, seeing it kind of reminds me of like old school like point and click like RPGs, and I was definitely into those when they were still new, when they were big. Um, Kind of gives me what's that game called? Dungeon Siege vibes, and that
Oh
was
yeah.
that was one of my favorites growing
I
up.
only played the third one, but
I only played the second one, which was remarkable too. So, um, but yeah, no, I'd definitely be into this. I kind of want to give this a try.
How about you, Sean?
Yeah, I haven't even been playing Monster Hunter now. I've come to the realization as I get older, I hate having a phone. So I have been actively trying to spend the least amount of time on my phone as possible. Not as a to make my life better kind of thing, but just because I just hate it. I just hate it so much. And you remember the good old days when it was like, yeah, I'm gonna go on camera. You remember the good old days when you couldn't think of something and you're like, who's that kung fu dog on Cartoon Network that goes and they go number one super guy and you spend like 3 days thinking about it? I miss those days. I don't have those skills anymore. Side note, it was Hong Kong Fooey.
I knew it.
Fucking
didn't.
knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it does good. I mean, not disparaging the game or anything like that. More disparaging my phone.
That's fair.
When you're zoomed in like that, I feel like I'm like right in your personal space. And
You
I feel
are.
like-
Could you guys back up a little bit?
I feel like I'm getting lectured by somebody, you know?
That Ash says that to me all the time. She's like, I feel like
Just-
you're lecturing me.
Just because you're close, though. Like
That's when I
farther
talk
away-
to her. I do this. I go,
Okay. That's even like now I feel like I did something wrong.
you did it. You know
always
what you
do.
did.
You've been a
Always.
bad boy.
Did you get that pickle?
Now I have to burn one of my items.
Oh, the range, extended range.
Yeah, usually if I go into my bathroom, it just scoots me over like a millimeter, and it works. But
Sounds like a horrible bathroom. Like it just like scoots you.
You're just pooping on the floor.
But yeah, as for me, I'm just not a mobile game person. I don't like playing stuff on the phone. Yeah, I know it's crazy. Oh yeah. Any final thoughts on before we move on?
Yeah, I don't plan on really playing it much. But I definitely am keeping it on my phone for future travel scenarios because yeah, it was a great option. I mean, like Mark playing Monster. That's my go-to game. Like when we were driving, when I could, I would be playing that. But like, I was like, I'm flying. I won't be able to play that. So what can I do? So, great match for something like that, or even like a train. Because I did notice that trick, Mark. You know when you like switch apps, and then you have a brief moment where they spawn. It
Yeah.
seems like there's actually a cutoff for when that even stops working, and it's like
there
once you're
is a
above,
speed.
like-
There is
Yeah.
a speed. When we were on the like expressway and highway and stuff like that, it was not working at all.
Yeah, it seems like once you're past like 120 or something, maybe even a little less than that
It
kilometers.
gave you guys like hope for those traffic jams, you know?
Yeah.
As soon as they slow down,
Cars
two or
slowing
three of
down.
them.
Get out! Kill him! Kill him!
yeah. But no, yeah, I definitely keep it on my phone for future scenarios, and I'm probably gonna look up what that game is that the developers are working on, to kind of keep an eye on that for future reference.
Nice. Next up, we got Duck Detective: The Secret Salami. I was like, when I saw the list, I was genuinely like, okay, is it real or is he fucking with me?
Dark Detective on the list. I did not see.
It's real. Real.
All right,
It's
tell us
real.
about it.
Come here. Let me tell you about Duck Detective: The Secret Salami. Actually, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, Trails. So I was seeing that game and I saw it was about a detective, and I was like, oh, like I really have like an itch to be a master detective. And I remember seeing this during one of the events over the summer. I don't remember which one. And I was like, this seems cool. It seems cute, interesting, or whatever. And I booted up and it was fun. It was like a really good, like well written kind of whodunit. It has full voice acting. The best part about it was that I played it for 2.5 hours and I 100%ed it and finished the game. So it was kind of quick and fun. I think like some of my favorite bits are just like it really makes you think. Like the whole premise of the game is that you're a detective, you're a duck. Instead of being an alcoholic, you're addicted to bread. And you're hired at a bus station and you go in because someone's lunch has been stolen. That's how it starts, but it literally devolves into like a greater conspiracy theory where at the end, like there's even a reference to it. They're like, he's like, I was hired to find someone's missing lunch, and I just like unraveled a great conspiracy. So it was really well written. I'm hoping because it is like the game is called Duck Detective: The Secret Salami. I'm hoping this is a series of games because it was really well written and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. Like doing the they're called deductions as opposed to deductions, was really like a scratcher. I really had to think about it. I really had to go back and read through all the information that I had seen. So it wasn't like I was stepping into the shoes of a detective and like they were kind of figuring it out as it goes along. It was really like I was figuring it out as we were going, and that's kind of why I like the Persona games. Like people kind of dislike the fact of in a lot of the Persona games, not a lot of them, but I think especially in 4, you really have to pay attention because at the end of the game you have to like solve the mystery, and if you don't get the good ending. You get a different ending. So I really enjoy that kind of premise of like you actually have to think it through and solve it to kind of put all the pieces together. And there's like 2 modes. There's like an easy mode where they give you more information for the deductions, and like a hard mode where you're more of a detective and you kind of have to figure things out. So really enjoyed it. 10 out of 10. Would put it in my mouth. If you're looking for a game that's only 2.5 hours for $10, this is it. This is the one. And I love salami. I'm a big salami guy. You guys know, every time we are in public going out, I am slamming salami down my gullet and the meat, and I enjoy it. It's good. I like it spicy. I like it. Regular Genoa salami is one of my favorites. You get a sandwich, you have some salami, some turkey, maybe some ham, some cheese, some sauce, some mustard, some mayo. You can go to the deli and get a big salami, cut it up yourself, or you could get it pre-sliced thin. How long are you guys going to let me talk about salami?
I'm just so hungry right now.
I'm
listening to you talk.
Can we take a salami break?
Yeah,
I'm down for a
yeah.
salami break.
Big salami break.
I got salami in my fridge right now.
Chris, don't call on me next. I'll be right back.
I was literally about to call on
John's going to get a salami.
Alright, Mark, are you craving doing some deductions now? Are you interested?
Honestly, the moment he said deduction, I was pretty sold on the game. It sounds fucking hilarious. Yeah, no, that game does sound very good. I really appreciate everything Sean said about it, and like just seeing this video, it does actually look like it's pretty funny. I would be very tempted to pick this up if I saw it on the Play Store.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll go on sale at some point too. Like, so you could probably get it for even cheaper. But it's really like, honestly, it's just one of those games where it's like a really good, quick kind of disconnect from everything. Where it's like you're just kind of having this like, kind of solo experience, this contained experience, and that's it. Yeah, and then you're done. And it's like I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it's full of those
so
kinds
good.
of fun. So.
All right, John, how's the salami, and what are your thoughts on the game?
It's real good.
Spicy?
No, it's German salami. It's good.
Oh,
When you say Germans can't be spicy, that's a little racist, but all right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I read once I saw it on the list, I had to do a little bit of research, just because, like you guys, I didn't think it was real. And I saw the secret salami, and I was like, well, that's an innuendo for sure. It reminds me of like L.A. Noire with ducks.
Basically, yeah.
I don't think I would spend $10 on it personally. I'm not big on detective games, but it is intriguing, and a lot of the reviews. Sorry, I got like a lot of salami in my mouth right now. I'm gonna swallow that real quick. Okay, I didn't see any negative reviews. Like the thing has, yeah, that was an innuendo. The the game has like really good reviews, and I feel like there'd be a lot of like duck puns, and I like puns, so maybe I would spend the money for that.
The
I'm down
trailer
for that.
advertised it, right? Like it was at one point it said just like expect tons of duck puns. Like I remember seeing the text.
It literally says "and quack the case" in the frickin' trailer that Sean was showing.
Well, but I'm saying the trailer also said before that, like just embrace.
Yeah,
like tons.
Literally, the best part of the game is if I was playing on PC. If you press Q, your character just quacks. It literally does nothing in the game. It doesn't. It has no added value other than the fact that it's hilarious to just walk around and do quacks.
Oh fuck, that's so
I'm willing
good.
to put that. I'm willing to put that salami in my mouth, for sure.
All
Do
right.
it.
Put it in.
Anthony, is this something you pick up to play with Link?
Probably not.
Oh yeah.
Riveting.
No, yeah, I mean it looks interesting, but just trying to save money for the big games coming out, and I know $10 is cheap, but I need it to be free for me to jump into it. Unfortunately, especially as you guys know, I'm unemployed for the summer, so I mean that's cool because I could play lots of games, a lot more games than usual, but means I can't spend as much as I usually do. So,
Just get a side gig being a duck detective
oh my
or
god,
selling salami.
dude, I have salami in my fridge right now.
$20.
I almost bought a bunch of lunch meats today, and I'm very sad I didn't.
What were you thinking, man?
Damn it!
What were you
Apparently nothing good.
So
So
we've
I don't
accomplished-
have salami.
We've accomplished two things on this podcast. You've turned me off of a game completely, and you've made everybody crave lunch meat.
I'm good at what I do. What can I say?
I have some of my ghost pepper hot sauce that I like putting on my sandwiches, and I don't have any meat to make my sandwiches.
Get some
We'll get a
salami.
salami. We'll give you 10 minutes.
Remember
Well, there
that
is a
episode of
grocery store a block away from me, so
remember that episode of Guy Pie podcast where they talked about salami for a long time?
It was a
That's the
riveting
best
episode.
episode.
They
That's
took
the
an
name
hour
of this
break to all
episode.
go out and get salami sandwiches.
The
Literally
salami
all I can
episode.
smell right now is salami.
Chris is like, I hope my computer doesn't crash right now.
Yes, it would be a shame to lose all this footage right now. You know? But honestly, if this ever came to PlayStation, I would pick it up. Funny enough, when I looked it up, there's a game called Duck Souls. I don't know if
What?
I don't know if that's something Sean and John are gonna have to play. But yeah, it doesn't look like it has any date coming anytime soon for PlayStation. So, but no, it does seem like a fun game filled with puns and lunch meat. You rarely get to see that nowadays.
I know how
Games
much
are
you
all
like
about the
puns, Chris.
micro-
So.
Like playing that game would basically be like I'm just playing like Mark's fantasy. I feel like it's just filled with puns and salami.
Puns are my favorite thing. This one person I know, I've had a pun queued up for literally 9 years, just in case he says one specific thing. I don't even talk to this person anymore, and I still have it ready.
Like
Just in case you see them in public.
I'm not like I'm fully not sold on the idea Mark didn't make this game. Puns, salami. He loves to take photos of like ducks and stuff. It just
I haven't found a
it's-
good duck in a while. I'm just gonna say.
I mean, maybe you haven't been traveling with salami. Maybe there's a problem right there.
You know what? I did
salami
get an
episode.
indigo bunting a little while ago, and it was amazing. I'll put it up.
Is that a kind of salami?
In some animals'
like-
eye, maybe.
You make it into.
He's like, I'll pull it up, and he just pulls up a salami out of his
It's a
pocket.
lobby.
I mean, the funny thing is like about recording each topic separately. Now I can see how long each individual topic goes on for, and we're at 11 minutes of salami right now.
Look at that salami.
Dude, the
That's
nice
tasty.
blue salami.
Nice
All
blue
right.
Italian salami.
Any final thoughts before we move on?
Go get some salami.
Salami.
It's lost all meaning.
Salami.
Oh, he would love salami.
We have Monster Hunter Rise. John, how's it been going with the Monster Hunting?
Good, man. I recently started the DLC. I forgot that I had bought it on Switch, and I have played it. And then when I started playing it, I was like, this is on PS5. I mean, I was like, this is really familiar. I have made it like halfway through the DLC on Switch, and I kind of stopped playing it to start playing the first Descendant, which was kind of a regret now at this point. I kind of want to play through Shadow of the Erdtree instead. Maybe I'll take a break from Monster Hunter Rise, but man, playing with this hammer build that I've been playing with has been wild. I didn't know that hammer had such mobility to it. I thought it would. I thought like the greatsword, it was going to be like a really slow weapon, but it's like crazy quick. It's a good way to get like a lot of damage in really fast, and it makes me not want to play with any other weapon ever again. Even when Monster Hunter Wilds comes out, I think I'm just gonna go with the hammer. So, yeah, I haven't been playing much. I'll get back into it after Erdtree probably, but yeah, still a good time, still fun, still one of my favorites.
Nice. And Anthony, you've dropped off, right, for Monster Hunter?
Yeah, so I was gone last week for basically 7 days, and then this week with jumping the first Descendant, so pretty much haven't touched it in about 2 weeks. I do still have interest in playing it, so that kind of I think might work out a little bit, John, if you end up stepping away to go through that. I don't know how long that would take though. But if you do, like you say, return, I do want to return at some point. I'll just have to kind of figure out. I don't know. Chris and I were talking about jumping into Remnant 2 at some point, but that potentially not being like a full time experience. Like probably just
I'm
be like
also I'm
a
also
couple
down
days.
for Remnant 2.
Okay, well, yeah. Even there you go. But even if we do, like, I don't think it's going to be like Monday to Friday thing, right? So, even if we yeah, so if you're still playing, if you jump back into it, once I finish this grind for this bunny booty, um, I'm pretty much good to put
The
First
bunny
Descendant
booty.
on ice until I see some changes that I want for the game for me to come back. I just want to get that character so that I have it. And then once that's done, um, yeah, I'm good to start playing again. But yeah, I haven't. Still, interest is still there. I think I'm just repeating myself like numerous times now. Um, I blame the whiskey, but yeah, Monster Hunter, good game.
And then, Mark, you were done with it because obviously Trails came out and that took up your time, right?
Yeah, as soon as I downloaded Trails of Daybreak, no other game can pull my attention right now.
That's fair. That's fair. Sean, did you ever end up downloading it when it went on like the PlayStation Premium, or like I can't remember?
No, I didn't know. I didn't really. I mean, I've heard John and Anthony talk about it, and it sounds fun, but I didn't really have a lot of interest in it. I like when it comes to Monster Hunter. I have very limited experience. Obviously, we played a whole bunch of. John, you look good. What have you been doing? You've been working out. Played a whole bunch of Monster Hunter World. I'm kind of more akin to that experience. From looking at the gameplay, like this looks great, but. I've never really been much into Monster Hunter. I think my first experience with Monster Hunter really kind of turned me off from it, and it was a Monster Hunter game for the original 3DS before the 3DS had the second thumbstick, and it was just impossible to play without a second thumbstick. So, but yeah, more so into World and looking forward to Wilds. I don't know if I'll ever play this one. It looks cool. It's just not something that is on my radar.
Yeah. To avoid sounding like a broken record for the game I haven't really had interest in playing for a while, I'm going to change the topic completely for a brief second and explain to Anthony
Salami.
and any visual audience members what they might have just seen and the context to it. So what when we were at the bar the other weekend, Anthony, we're just like sitting having drinks, and all of a sudden, like, we turn and look at the TV and we see this blue thing on the TV, and I immediately turn, I look back at everyone at the table, I'm like, why does it look like John? And then John, like, we for the life of us, we couldn't find it on Google or anything like that. And then John, you spent what, like 2 hours sifting through the He-Man stuff to find that? That is dedication right there. But yeah, just some much added context to that. All right, any final thoughts on Monster Hunter Rise before we move on?
No, sir.
All right.
No,
I have risen above it to play my Trails game.
Next up, we have Resident Evil 4 remake. So I was trying to find something to play this week. We got because like Anthony said, like next week Remnant is going on to PlayStation Premium, so kind of looking forward to that. Destiny 2, the new act starts up next week, and I did just play some like pretty heavy games in terms of like game time, like Unicorn Overlord and all that. So I was like looking for something to play, and I decided to play Resident Evil 4 remake because I never played it when it came out, despite buying it at full price. Because like originally I bought it at launch to play it, but then I heard that they were doing the VR version. I'm like, oh cool, I'll just wait for that. But then I just realized I'm not a VR person. I can't do like those extended sessions. So I ended up selling like the VR to Sean, and then I just realized, oh, I never actually got around to playing this fucking game. So I've been playing it. Fucking looks beautiful. It's been like a huge hit of nostalgia. Just all these familiar places, like Wallace right there, just walking around. But yeah, no, they did a really great job with this remake. Really well done. I kind of like revisiting it. I kind of realized I almost realize this every time lately when I play Resident Evil game. At a certain point in my life, Resident Evil became like one of my more favorite series. And I think it all stems back to Mark the old days of us playing 5. I think that was like the point
That was a lot of
where
fun.
like I started really giving Resident Evil a good go, and then like over the years like the remakes came out, started playing those and just having like a really good time with them to the point where I usually look forward to every new entry that they add to the game. Yeah, it's been pretty solid. Sean, you platinum this, right? Way back in the day.
yeah, not the Wallace and Gromit version, but
Oh,
yeah.
not impressive.
I got the plat. Resident Evil 4 is like one of my top games of all time, and I at one point I was speedrunning the remake because it was a lot of fun. I played the whole thing on stream. I put out a couple of YouTube videos of me playing it in VR, and like it's such a great experience. Obviously, they changed a couple of things to the remake, but I wasn't even mad about it. Like it's still such a great game. Like it's a true testament to game design and gameplay and game fluency. Like the game itself, the old game still holds up today. It didn't need to be remade, but the remake is such a good time and so enjoyable. And there's Chainsaw Man with a chainsaw. That doesn't really make sense, but
Spoilers.
yeah, it's
Chainsaws
great.
on chainsaws on chainsaws.
One of my faves. One of my faves. Oh, Tigger got him.
I will say, like early on into playing this game, I had like a Sideshow Bob moment from The Simpsons, of like it's like early on, and I'm just walking around, and I keep walking into fucking bear traps. And to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look out for bear traps, but then I would immediately forget to be aware of the bear traps, and like seconds later, I would walk into another one. But and the best part was like there was a long extended time of no bear traps where I got fully comfortable, and then randomly I'm just like walking, and I stepped into a fucking bear trap again. Like this game just really fucks with you. John, you played this when this came out, right?
Yeah, I played it when it came out. For some reason, like I did enjoy it, but it didn't click with me the way the original Resident Evil 4 clicked with me. I think it's just like they made it the same but too different at the same time. Like ammo and stuff was a little more scarce, I feel like. When I think of Resident Evil 4, I think of like them going away from survival horror almost a little too much, but like more towards like an action game. So like ammo, there was more ammo, there was more guns, there's like customization for your guns and stuff. I feel like they tried to bring back the survival horror aspect of it and like make ammo more scarce and make this all like more scarce, and it just didn't click the same way as the original. So I may go back to it at some point, but I didn't finish it. I can. It's so distracting.
that bear trap was me for like a good fucking. Oh god.
I'm definitely enjoying
Man.
this Wallace gameplay. Him shooting Winnie the Pooh character. That scene where he stabbed Owl in the neck, especially got me. Oh man, yeah. But I'll get back into it one day. I'll give it another go at some point.
Mark, was this something that would catch your eye?
Not really. Like I did really enjoy the Resident Evil games. Just like my mood for certain video game genres has to be very specifically there in order for me to actually really get into them. I think I don't think I never played 4, but like it always seemed like an interesting game. It's just wasn't I never kind of got into that groove when it was there. Maybe one day I'll pick it up for the VR. I mean, we'll see. Maybe I'll find like a good sale on it or something one of these days. But yeah, I think like Resident Evil games are usually really fun. They got some good storyline. I mean, like consistently speaking, they have some pretty good story arcs to them. So they do have that going for them. I've enjoyed every single one I've played. It's just getting to that point of playing it sometimes takes a couple of minutes.
Oh, that's fair. Like the nice thing too is like it's not like how sometimes they do like the remake separately or like the VR separately where like it's a full price game on its own. It was like a free upgrade, and this game is old enough that eventually you'll probably see it like dirt cheap. Like
Yeah.
Anthony, you are totally not down for this game, but what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah,
Anthony, not.
the closest I got to this game will ever get to this game is when I watch Sean stream it. And even then, man, like if I didn't have a wife to sleep in my bed with me, like I would have been sleeping with the lights on. You know. So
Oh man, that's funny.
but I mean, watching Sean play it was fun, especially like the shooting range stuff. That part looked fun. The other
Yeah,
parts,
shooting range is great.
yeah. Other than that, though, the actual progression of the game, I'd rather just watch someone else play it because I can't be the one to make the decisions when shit goes down in those games, man. I'll just shut the game off.
Right, that is a decision. Just saying.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
yeah.
as I was replaying it, when you get to like the castle portion, with like the little dude and his like two big bodyguards. I don't know if like Sean and John, you guys had this thought when I was like looking at like the big bodyguards like with like the red robes. They reminded me. Do you guys remember like the Super Mario movie? Like the live action one.
Yeah,
They remind me of the Goombas.
Yeah, they definitely give that vibe.
And it was very
this
hard
game
to
is
take
actually
seriously.
based off of that movie. So
Oh, it makes so much sense now, actually. Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. Tell us about your time on it. Revisiting it, Sean.
this isn't a revisit. This is the very first time I've ever played it. So I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of in that limbo of like not really anything to play. So I've been watching a lot of Cobra Kai, but I like to like watch something and play. And like I just thought, it's an old Game Boy game. Like I don't have to pay full attention to it while I'm watching Cobra Kai. And I was wrong. Like this game is quite difficult in the latter half of the game. But yeah, it was. I've played every Zelda game. This was kind of the only holdout that I never played, and I was like, it's on the Switch online subscription, so I might as well give it a try. And I'm loving it. It's a lot of fun. Like it's really nostalgic. They use a lot of like assets and music. Well, not direct assets, but kind of character designs and stuff from Wind Waker, which is cool. And a lot of the items, like I'm surprised we haven't seen them again. There's like a lot of cool ideas, like the claws. There's the claws like that do the digging. This this hover thing it takes place in a lot of them. There was another item, I can't think of it at the moment, that I kind of wish they would bring back. The mechanic of like being able to turn small and kind of roam the world that way is really cool and well done, especially when you end up in areas like houses and you're kind of like in the ceiling tiles and you can see like the whole design below. Like it really kind of pushed the boundaries of what the Game Boy Advance was capable of. And having that difficulty on it is fun as well. I just finished it, I think on Friday during the day, and it was good. It was good. It's probably not like one of my top Zelda games, but I really enjoyed the experience.
Anthony, did you ever play this one?
No, unfortunately, I have not. The only one I played on a Game Boy device, I can't remember, it might have been Advance, was Link to the Past. It was the only one I've played outside of like the main console games. Well, and Breath of the Wild and whatever, you know. So no, I have not. But it does look like it would be a fun, like it reminds me somewhat of Link to the Past in the way it looks. Probably something I wouldn't check out though. Just I don't know. It's weird. I almost have this like it's not intentional, but just because I don't like Breath of the Wild, I just have this. I'm in this weird place with the Zelda series right now, where it used to be one of my favorite games. Or I know I haven't played every one in the series, okay, but there's a couple in the series I really love, and because I don't jive with like some of the ones that are considered like the best of all time. It's I'm in this weird place with the Zelda series, so I'll have to work something out. Maybe I'll play that one where you play as Zelda. Maybe that'll be the fix. Yeah.
You never know.
You
Mark, how
never
about
know.
you?
Like I'm also in the kind of same boat as Anthony, where like I haven't played a ton of the game series, but like the ones I have played, I've really liked. I did enjoy Breath of the Wild. I never tried the Tears of the Kingdom. I never played that one yet. I don't think I will end up doing it, but Zelda games are always really fun, especially like there's the stuff I've been seeing from this one. Seems like it's just like a nice fun little game to play. I think I definitely could jive with this one, but it's just finding the time to play that when I have all this other things to play. But yeah, just I'm getting entranced by watching these clips.
John, how about you?
Yeah.
Surprisingly, me being a big Zelda fan, I only played a little bit of this. I'd never really played through the entire thing. It's definitely something that interests me, maybe to do one at some point when I have nothing to play. But I'm not unlike Sean right now. I'm not stuck in between. I'm like stuck in between all these games that I want to play. Um, but like I've always been interested in the Minish cap just because I do like the top-down like Zelda games. The Oracle of Ages and Seasons being a couple of my favorite like Game Boy games, and A Link to the Past being one of my favorite games on the SNES. So definitely something I could see myself playing at some point.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if I played this one back in the day. If I did, probably didn't have a good lasting impression on me since I don't recall. But I do watch Cobra Kai, so I do respect that, Sean. I do respect that.
Respect. Such a good show. Let's talk about Cobra Kai.
So good. It's so good. Finally,
it's like an anime. It's
dude. That's what I'm
like I'm obsessed with it. I'm absolutely obsessed. Like I can't stop watching it, and I'm just I was never like a huge fan of the Karate Kid movies, but now like watching this like makes me want to go back and watch them all. So.
Oh, yeah, they pay such good tribute to like the movies that came before, but in a really good way. That yeah, like Sean said, you don't have to be like fully invested in the series. Like they introduce it to you to it perfectly and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts on Cobra Kai before we move on? Next up, we got another game, Mortal Sin. So, how's that going for you, John? You just picked this one up today, right?
I actually picked it up last night. I have the game open right now. So It's a roguelike, first person action, almost RPG type game. As you can see, there's a ton of classes you could play as. You unlock them by leveling up. So you can see all the way up to 27. You got some classes. So far, my favorite has been the mage. So how this works is you load into the game, okay, and you have this hub world, okay, where you can do all your stuff here. You upgrade your weapons and stuff through her. Gives you little tutorials and stuff. Is my gameplay like showing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's showing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can see.
Okay, I can't see Discord right now. So it's cool. You go into these levels, and a lot of it's like locked at first. Let's see if I can. So like the levels are randomly generated. Got these enemies here. I like this like weird like film grainy like filter they've got on it. Extremely gory. A lot of fun. I can hear giggling, so I'm kind of nervous about what's happening right now.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, so you can progress through the level by killing all the enemies in a room and pressing these switches, which kind of like has this like red line on the ground that like kind of guides you to where you need to go. I'm gonna die because I can't concentrate, but it's like tons of traps and stuff. So when you get to the end of an area, you get these upgrades, Sean. I don't know what you're doing, but you can like, but you can like upgrade like your punches, your kicks. You get little kicks. You can slow your enemies. There's a million of them. It feels like the possibilities are endless. And you find these little guys here, these dead guys. They give you gear that you can use. And the cool thing about the mage is each staff has like kind of a different like elemental thing. See, you can freeze enemies and you set them on fire. You can electrocute them. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. It's not a very steep price. I think it was only like $20 or so. Yeah, I definitely recommend it to anybody looking for something long term that'll last quite a while.
Nice. Mark, what does this do for you?
Honestly, the game does sound interesting. The art style is like I like looking at it. It's very appealing to me. I don't know what specifically about it, but like it's a very basic one. But like it seems like it just has like a little some depth to it as well. I don't know.
It kind of reminds me of. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, did you guys ever watch that like old movie Heavy Metal, the animated
Yeah.
movie?
It's definitely like heavily inspired by dark fantasy games.
Oh, okay. Is that it for you, Mark? Or
Yeah, I know it definitely seems like an interesting game. If I see it come up, I'll try and remember to give her a go.
Sean, how about you?
Yeah, it's on my wish list. So, guys, head over to my OnlyFans. You can go to my wish list. You can buy me stuff off Amazon, Steam. Yeah, this looks dope. Like, I love the art style. The gameplay loop looks fun. Like, it's been on my wish list for a while, and it's one of those things like I just never ended up picking up. But now seeing it, like, I greatly remember being super interested in it. And by the way, I didn't do anything, John. It was Chris was being goofy.
Yeah, I stripped
Just
down
Chris.
naked.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
I did some
I'm gonna
karate.
watch. I'll watch the YouTube video of the podcast when it comes out. I'll find out.
All right, Anthony, any thoughts on this one?
I do really dig the art style. But I'm not too into roguelites or roguelikes, whichever is the appropriate tag here. But yeah, the art style is I like if this studio made another game with like the same aesthetic, just more traditional RPG or action adventure or something, like I would definitely check that out. Pending price point, but Yeah, no, I've brushed up with the genre here and there, but it's not like a mainstay for me. So, yeah, definitely looks cool though. It's like it's simplistic, but it's like it's got depth. Like, it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's not a game I would play myself, but I do agree that art style is really cool. I would honestly, I would love to see like that art style get adapted for like a Marvel game or something. Like basically like turn that like obviously we're getting Wolverine from Insomniac, but Sean, like imagine like a Wolverine game with like that style of like art and all that.
Is it multiplayer, Jonathan?
No. No, it
Oh.
is just a solo game.
Okay.
Any final thoughts before we move on?
I have no thoughts on anything ever.
So moving on to a news topic. This week was like nuts. Like this is the first time I think in a long time we had 10 topics of just games we were all playing. It's been a while since we've seen like that much variety. Next up we have the big news this week, which was the Game Pass tier and pricing update. Xbox Game Pass Core will remain. So these I went through the Xbox. Microsoft found like the pricing for Canadian, so I can do pricing that actually reflects us here. Xbox Game Pass Core will remain $11.99 per month, but will go up to $87.99 from $69.99 for like the annual subscription. Current subscribers. So Xbox Game Pass Core is basically Xbox Live Gold with access to I think around 30 specific games from the Game Pass catalog. Current subscribers of Xbox Game Pass can keep their day one game releases until their membership expires. Apparently, if they have it set to auto renew, like they will be grandfathered into like that subscription. If it's not set to auto renew, or if like you're a new subscriber, Xbox like Game Pass is gone. It's no longer an option. Starting September 12th, 2024, users won't be able to stack their Game Pass memberships longer than 13 months. New users will see Xbox Game Pass Standard now. So for $16.99, users get access to most of the Game Pass catalog. The only exception is no longer having access to day one game releases. This tier also obviously includes the Xbox Live Gold. Games that launch day one for Ultimate will release for Standard via case by case basis. So you could wait 6 months, a year, or longer for those day one games to actually come to the Standard version. There isn't certainty if it's going to be just the first party exclusive day ones or if they're also counting third party day ones. Game Pass Ultimate will see a price from $22.99 per month, previously $18.99. PC Game Pass is getting a bump going from $11.99 to $14.99. They will keep day one releases. So I'll go quick. I ended up going through cdkeys.com. They sell like the subscription memberships, like say you get like a 3-month card or something like that. They had 3-month for I think it was like $45 including, or like 40 like two something including tax. So I ended up getting 2 of those, a 6-month membership. And then when I renewed those, it gave me the option to sign up for auto renew and get an extra month. So at the end of the day, for 7 months, I ended up getting, I paid like $85 compared to like what'll be probably like $25 after tax per month. So if anyone is interested in getting Xbox Live right now, or like the membership, I would say stockpile it now while you can and get a cheaper introduction cost. The main reason I ended up doing this, considering I barely ever play my Xbox, is I wanted it to be good until 2025 because there are games I want to play. Indiana Jones, Avowed, and I can actually just play Black Ops via this. I don't have to pay the $100 to give Black Ops a try and just save some money. So it was basically those 3 games, which would have cost me what, like 80, 90, well, probably $100 each, 300. I'll get to play them for like 80 something bucks for the rest of the year. So, and then whatever else comes to Game Pass. But, yeah, the pricing, like, I don't, the pricing is definitely a bit heftier. Like, what I will say is like, their marketing now is just super confusing. When you look at the past, where like everything's just like play it day one Game Pass, play it day one Game Pass. Now it's like play it day one Ultimate Game Pass. Like they have to kind of rework their whole marketing scheme. And I'll throw it to John because you love marketing. You love marketing teams. What are your thoughts on all this?
I don't. I like Xbox even less now. I don't want to. Yeah, I said it. And I mean it. No, honestly, the pricing really doesn't bother me much because, like, if I were to get into it, it'd be worth it. Like all these free games, like for just a little bit more. You know what I mean? It's not like it's huge, like a big jump. But I mean, I guess they need to make their money too, like a multi-billion-dollar company like Microsoft. Yeah. So. No, I don't. I'm not really that concerned about it because I don't think I'll be getting Game Pass anytime soon. So,
Sean, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. I think Microsoft kind of screwed up a good thing they had. Like with everything that they've kind of done in the past couple of years being kind of less than favorable, I thought they had a cool thing, and it's something that I really enjoyed from their brand, was that you could essentially play, because I'm a finance guy, like you could essentially play day one titles for a cheaper price. Like I think it was a good marketing ploy. I think like it brought a lot of people to Game Pass. I think it made Game Pass kind of a standout among the different kind of subscription services we have for games. And I think they just kind of threw that out the window, where it's just kind of like, it's not so much the price increase. I totally get the price increase. I mean, I don't. I was going to say because of inflation, but they have jillions of dollars. That's a real number, by the way. I work at a bank. They like the price change, I don't really care that much. It's more so like the tiering of things. Like why not just increase the price and keep it, like you said, that's genius marketing. Play it day one on Game Pass. Like that's all that has to be said. That's all that has to be done. There doesn't need to be a tier to play new games. Like I think it was working. I think that a lot of people were buying into it because of that. I think that where they kind of are amongst the other consoles, like it was a good ploy, and they kind of just threw that out the window. So it kind of like, what are they doing over there? What are you guys doing, Microsoft? You got some solid titles coming up, so people are going to pay that premium, of course. But what are you doing? Sorry about the burp. But what? It tastes like salami. But what are you doing?
Well, I think before I toss it to somebody else, I think the obvious thing behind the whole tier thing, as shitty as it is the Activision games, right? Like when you have like a seller like Black Ops, right? Like Call of Duty, like getting people to have that for like $15 per month isn't, like, compared to like say paying full price, is probably like not ideal for them. So I think if anything leaned Microsoft toward doing this whole tier system and like fucking up like years and years of like a solid consistent like marketing term, is just like them not wanting to lose as much money on like Activision games. Because like, yeah, you think about like Call of Duty, even though like we're all out on it, Diablo, like the next expansion that'll be there. If they ever do any Spyro, Crash Bandicoot games, like in Tony Hawk games, like there is a big pool of stuff that could sell a good chunk of money. That I think, unfortunately, this is the results of it and all that. Anthony, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I find it interesting too. Like they're raising the price, so they make out these tiers, but then they raise the price of all of them, and it's like, because it's pretty clear, like you said, Chris, like it has to do with the whole Activision deal. Like they spent a lot of money there, and they got to make it back somehow. And it's just funny because you got to think like all these new releases. I'm assuming the expansion for Diablo 4 will be included in a day one release, meaning it won't be available to like the lower tier, but that lower tier is still paying more, right, than what it was.
Yeah, the only tier that didn't get like a basic price upgrade was core. But like core was always like
Like,
minimal stuff. Like
Min-
core I
okay.
think would be comparable to like your base PlayStation Plus where you don't get access to the vast catalog.
Okay.
But like still different. But
Yeah.
as you
So
were saying, standard what is now what used to be Xbox Game Pass. Yeah, that you're paying $15.99 and you're not getting day one games.
yeah. So it's like, yeah, sure, they're gonna get like these older like active like Call of Duty titles, but like I may not be a Call of Duty player, but I know it's a pretty relevant thing that like the newest Call of Duty is where it's at. Like I know they're still online for the previous Call of Duties, but from my understanding, from what I've heard from a lot of people in that space, is like when the new Call of Duty comes out and the old Call of Duties are just there, it gets like riddled with cheaters and hackers, and they don't really do much about it because their focus is the new one. So like the new one that'll be on at the next tier up, that it's like, oh, but we're paying extra a month now because of this whole deal, but we don't even get the fruits of the cost. And then yeah, I don't know. It's just the other thing, Chris. I don't know if you the latest episode of Sacred Symbols. It was either Dustin or Chris. They pointed out, I think it was Dustin, uh, that there was a post somewhere on Xbox's social media specifically saying they were not going to raise prices because of the Activision acquisition.
I'm pretty sure they doubled down on that months back when PlayStation did their bumps, like for like the subscription services. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure that
just
post
to try
was
and
them
look good in the
doubling
moment.
down. Yeah.
Oh my god. I
Some
bet you even in that
politics.
moment they knew they were raising prices, but they were like, "Oh, PlayStation's raising before us. Let's make ourselves look good for the day and say, "Oh, we're doubling." Like, oh, yeah. I don't know. I guess I can't really say too much because like I don't really play Xbox. Um, I do occasionally grab like a month to dabble in something or other, but to be honest, even like with the extra couple bucks now, like I don't know if I would like that one or two times a year where they get 15, 16 bucks for me. I don't know if that'll happen now because like that's just really annoying. I guess. I mean, it'll probably still be a good deal. I guess. I don't know. We'll have to see when I come to it, but yeah, I don't
So you're
know.
selling your Xbox?
No, I want there's games that I want to play on it, but like I'll probably just end up buying them outright. Like like the one game I track like the sales and stuff, even though like Sean has my Xbox. And the one time I was like, oh, this game that I want, it's on sale. Can you buy it for me through the thing? But he's like, oh, I got to put the password in the both line. And I'm like, shit, it's not working. And then he's like, can you just buy through the website? And I'm like, oh, or the app or something. And I'm like, yeah, I can. Okay, cool. That game was Lost Odyssey, by the way.
It's a good game.
It was like $4 or $5. So, but anyways, yeah. Xbox, what are you doing? Like Sean said, what's going on?
I will
You
say.
sound just like
Oh, go ahead.
I already said it.
All right. Before I throw it to you, Mark, one thing I want to point out too that I think will be dumb for Xbox is going back to it's uncertain if it's just the first party exclusives or if that goes with the third party exclusives. They're really fucking themselves over if it includes the third party exclusives. Because like if you look back to this year, a good example, Mark, Tales of Kinzera Zao, and last year Sea of Stars. Both of them launched on PS Plus Premium or PS Plus Extra and Xbox Live Game Pass, I believe, day one. So in those situations where a pop-up just happened on my computer, that was very distracting. So in those situations where it's like, oh, you have to have the $24.99 membership to access these games day one, but it's like, oh, like I can't remember what it is monthly for PS Plus Extra, but it is significantly cheaper than that, I'm pretty sure. It's like, what's stopping somebody from being like, oh, I'll just have the PlayStation Plus membership, like, to access those games, right? Like, hopefully it's just a case of their first party exclusives, but we'll have to wait and see. Mark, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, it just makes me happy that I opened up my eyes one day and I decided, you know what? PlayStation, that's where it's at. And I went out, bought one, and I never have to deal with this stupid Xbox nonsense ever again of them constantly disappointing me with their shit. So, yeah, I think like raising as they said, like this is like a bajillion-dollar corporation and stuff like that. And like unless they were bleeding so much money from their current subscription, which I severely doubt they were, it doesn't make sense to me. But like it could very well have to do with the Activision thing. They could have put stipulations in, who knows? We'll never know what happens behind the closed doors, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy with my PlayStation Extra subscription. I get a lot of dope games to play, and Xbox. So thank you.
All right. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, speaking of the extra, like how before PS Extra, I was saying like I was so against all that stuff, and then like Monster Hunter Rise, I was like I'm gonna do it. Now like next week we got Remnant 2. Like I think I'm like a permanently switched over subscriber to Extra. Like that's two games that would like for the extra cost. Like it's I know this has nothing to do with the topic, but
No, it's like adjacent to it, right?
yeah, like that alone, I'm like, okay, you know what? Like I think that coincidentally, two games so close together. Like, I mean, I'll have to see. I'm good till the end of my subscription in like 14 months or something. But those two games alone already exceed the cost it costed me to upgrade. So and those are two games I really plan. Like, I plan on playing Remnant 2, and I whatever, Monster Hunter Rise. So I've been converted.
We got him, guys.
Yeah, boy.
Got him. Next up, threw these in here because we were curious. Yeah, I know me, John, and Mark were curious what you guys would pick for your answers from last week's final question. So what's a game that never got a sequel but you wish it did? Anthony, start us off.
I'd probably go with just off like quick answer, like Legend of Dragoon. It was a PS1 turn-based combat game I really, really loved, and it's almost once a year. Like I Google, any rumors or any information about a sequel. Although considering the content of the game, it probably would make more sense for them to do some sort of prequel, because in the game you're traveling with this woman who is a companion of your father's from like 10,000 years ago. Like it's convoluted, like it's hard to explain the whole thing, but essentially there was a big war 10,000 years prior to this game, and I think a prequel would be really fitting. Although a sequel could happen as well in some form, if they wanted it to. Hell, even just remaster the game or give it some sort of treatment. Like, come on. I just want to play the game in a modern way. I have access to play like the original version, yes, but like I want it to look pretty, like modern, Anyways, yeah, so that's the game I would pick for a sequel. I don't think we'll get it, but there's lots of people online that are fighting for it. I know that much. To no avail, obviously.
All right, Sean, what is your pick?
I was thinking about this a lot because there are a lot of games that I would love to play more of, but I'm completely like content with having kind of contained standalone kind of experiences. Like initially, what came to mind was Bloodborne, because I think that's just because every time I'm in any kind of like video or like stream where they're announcing games, people are like Bloodborne 2, but it's like we got Bloodborne, it was good. Like they don't need to do a sequel. You just go play Bloodborne again. Like another game that came to mind was Catherine. Like, but then more of a think of it, I wouldn't want a sequel. I'd more just want like another kind of game like Catherine, like in the same kind of vein and made. And then I started thinking about the greatest disappointment I ever had as a kid. And that was Banjo 3. And I remember like just being so hyped for it, and I was like, I wanted it, and it kind of like bled over into my adulthood to the point where I backed Ukulele on Kickstarter, thinking like this is the spiritual successor to Banjo Kazooie, and just being so like devastated on how bad that game was, like, still to this day, can we get a third Banjo-Kazooie installment? Like, come on. It's super easy. You just make it. It's, I don't know I'm doing that voice, but you get my point.
Yeah, there was actually like
Precise.
there was like talk this week from Jez Gordon, one of like the Microsoft like reporters. And unfortunately, as of right now, there are according to him and his insiders, there are absolutely zero plans for anything Banjo on the board right now, which
So
is kind of dumb. Like,
make millions off of just me.
all right, final topic, boys, and then we're out of here. What is an enemy from a video game that used to, or still does, stress you out? I'll go first just in case like you guys like weren't certain on like the specifics of it and all. I think it's pretty straightforward, but I think for me, my answer is Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. I love Resident Evil 2, but I hate Mr. X just because like he takes away a sense of comfort almost because you never know when he's just gonna come walking out of a door or like you're like the game completely changes once he gets introduced to it, and yeah, he just like the lingering thought of like that fucker is somewhere around like the police station or something would always just like I would be it got to a point where him was like I was more stressed when I wasn't in a room with him than when I was in a room with him because at least I was seeing him and I knew what he was doing, like kind of thing. Sean, what's your answer?
Yeah, when I think about stress, I have moments. I don't often get like mad at video games, like, but when I do, I punch my leg. I don't know what it is. It doesn't hurt or anything. Like I punch it full blast, it doesn't hurt. And I was kind of thinking like, what bosses made me feel like that? And that I think to this day, like, I still can't believe I did that. I would probably never do it again. And I started thinking of Millennia, but then I was thinking back to Platinuming Bloodborne. And to platinum Bloodborne, you have to do these things called chalice dungeons. They're basically like generated dungeons that you go through, and there's like bosses and stuff that are basically bosses from the main game, just a little bit harder. So there's chalice dungeons that literally like the caveat is that you have less health, so you have half health than you would usually have, and you take extra damage to certain kind of status ailments. And in Bloodborne, there's this enemy. It's called Amygdala. And Amygdala is just like this big, creepy creature. You kind of see them everywhere. They're invisible at first, and then as you go through the game, like you get like this madness thing, and you can start to see them and stuff like that. So it stresses me out because I already don't like being in small spaces. So you're fighting this boss that you've beaten in the main game, and it was already hard enough in the main game, in this small arena. So the only way to defeat it, and you have half health, and he does double damage. So he basically one-shots you every hit. So you somehow have to get around this small arena. You have to dodge all of his attacks, which take up the whole arena, and somehow kill him. And he would one-shot me every time. I still have dreams about him. Like, it was just the most frustrating experience of my life because it was like, let's take difficulty out of the question. Like, the arena is too small. Like, I can't do anything. Like, it just, like, the liminal space was killing me. And I still think about it to this day as, like, the most stressful thing I've ever had to do in a video game. Because I needed it to do the platinum. It wasn't like option. Like the chalice dungeons are optional, but there's like a main final boss in the chalice dungeons that you need to beat to platinum the game. So there was like there was no way around it, and there was no cheese or anything either. Like you just had to do it.
All right, Mark, what is your pick?
Yeah, so I don't like I'm having trouble specifically pinning one specific enemy down, but kind of what Sean said, like the first thing I thought of when I read this title is pretty much any enemy in a Souls game where it's just like it takes time to get through the fight, and then like once you're like the bar's that big, but your health bar is also that big, and you have no more healing left. And it's just like, okay, do I go for an attack or do I risk getting just freaking beaten out of the freaking arena? There's also there's another enemy where like I had to do this fight a couple of times. It was in a Star Ocean game. It's for I played it on Xbox, and it was like an after like a post game boss, or like after you beat the game, stuff like that. You load up the save, and then you can go back through and like explore the whole area. You pretty much walk down out of the area, and then a door that wasn't open is now open. It was like I think it's called like the Immortal Dragon or something like that. And the fight literally took me over an hour. And like I was 45 minutes into it at one point, and like I messed up my sequence of my attacks, and the boss freaking leveled me and had to start over from the beginning. So it's just any sort of boss fight where like it takes a lot of time to get through it. That's when I know my stress sort of peaks. and and yeah, things get a little bit more spicy for me playing the games. Beyond that, like any sort of like enemy in the game, like the Mr. X stuff was annoying. I didn't fully play through the re-release of Resident Evil 2. It was really fun, but he was definitely a little bit stressful to deal with, but I didn't deal with him that much. So I just have to go with any boss fight that lasts for like a while that can hit you super hard.
Actually, I just was thinking, and there's something that stresses me out more. You know, in Elden Ring, there's those lizards that cause you to get death bladed, where they like it just like insta death or whatever. In Dark Souls, the first Dark Souls, there's this secret area where you're going down a tree, and those lizards are in that tree. But the thing in Dark Souls is that when you get that it's called cursed. When you get that buildup, every time you die from that, it halves your health. So you get to a point where it's like you have no health and you can't teleport. You couldn't teleport out of the area. So now every time I remember I was fighting the dancing lion guy. There's like an alt fight, like a roaming boss of him, and he does that. He does the death blading, and he spawned those lizards. And I was like, I'm not doing this boss. Like that, I don't even want to see these lizards. They. So that's my answer. I changed it.
Nice. Anthony, what's your pick?
Mine's a little a weird pick. So I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, well, enemies that stress me out. The only thing I can relate it to is like probably some bosses. So like I was thinking Monster Hunter World, the Xeno'jiiva fight, the base game. That was a pretty rough fight, but I'm like, you know what though? That wasn't like I managed to overcome it. It wasn't too bad. I was thinking like in the regards to like Destiny, because that is a game I play like probably 3/4 of my game time a year tends to be on Destiny. So I was thinking about that, and then it just clicked. I'm like, the Witness. The Witness stresses me when I am thinking about the raid runs we still need to get in because we haven't fought them. It just stresses me out, man. Like there's so much going on with that raid. Did you know that I've been reading stuff online that there is very minimal amounts of like Sherpa and teaching LFG raids going on for that raid in comparison to previous raids. Like the numbers are down. People are having a hard time finding them because no one wants to teach it because it's so involved in like every encounter. More specifically, obviously the fourth encounter, but even the witness fight, like you got all the shapes going on. You got the hands. You got to shut things down. It stresses me out, man, just thinking about it. So,
I can see the stress building on you as you talk about it.
I mean, we'll get it, but it's just because I'm confident in my abilities. I just have to manage my like adrenaline because like it does get out of hand when it gets like to the line. But it's like we have to. It's the fact that we have to all perform on an equal footing to beat it, right? And I'm not saying the people we raid with can't do that, but it's like not everyone does that every time. So it's like we have to get that moment where every single one of us performs where we need to
Just
be
popping.
all at the same time and get it,
No, I definitely get
So
that. Yeah, like the stress of this raid definitely has something different to it, and like I don't know, like there's the excitement for going into new raids, but like this one, there's like that layer of like, I don't know. Although there
Yeah.
might be something that
It is unforgiving.
there might be something soon that beats the Witness in terms of stress, man. The fucking new wyverns they have coming.
Oh, did they teleport?
Yeah,
Or
they
there's
teleport
something
and
else.
dodge the wyverns. So remember the
Oh,
Grandmaster, Mark? Yeah, they're introducing teleporting and dodging wyverns.
They
Wow.
weren't hard enough. My God.
Shit.
Yeah.
The
All
decks are starting to double down.
All right, John, finish us off. What is your pick?
So, sorry, I lost my voice. So it's Mimic, but it's not like your average Mimic. It's from Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. And the frustrating thing about these guys isn't like that they're hard or they kill you in one hit. It's your pawns. They try and fight this thing. So you'll open the chest, it'll attack you, whatever, you'll run away. But your pawns will just continue to try and fucking fight this thing. And you're telling them to back up. They won't back up. They just want to fight him. And he does this one attack that just like one hits them. So like you'll open a mimic chest and you're like, fuck, I have to go through this again. Kills all your pawns, you have to go back, summon new pawns, and it's just a lot of frustration and it looks like a weird penis. I'll let you guys look it up on your own time. But yeah, that's that. I was gonna pick Electric Keys from Tears of the Kingdom, and I definitely agree with Amygdala on Sean's response, even though he changed it. But yeah, no, I'm going with these fucking mimics. They're fucking awful.
All right. We made it through another episode on the Guy Pie Podcast. I'm Chris. That's Mark.
Bye.
Anthony.
So you.
Sean.
Hello, governor.
And
Hello.
John.
Oh, he got spirited away.
And that's a white.